Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Hopefully y'all are having an awesome day today, ready to learn something. We are in TryHackMe once again. This is the SOC Level 1 learning path. This is the Cyber Defense Frameworks module, and this is the Unified Kill Chain room. As you can see here, it says the Unified Kill Chain is a framework which establishes the phases of an attack and a means of identifying and mitigating risk to IT assets. Now, let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, task one, introduction here, and then you can see this fancy little graphic here: recon, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, actions on objectives, understanding the behaviors, objectives, and methodologies of a cyber threat is a vital step to establishing a strong cybersecurity defense known as a cybersecurity posture. In this room, you will be introduced to the UKC, which is the Unified Kill Chain framework that is used to help understand how cyber attacks occur. Learning objectives, understanding why frameworks such as the UKC are important and helpful in establishing a good cybersecurity posture, using the UKC to understand an attacker's motivation, methodologies, and tactics, understanding the various phases of the UKC. Discover that the UKC is a framework that is used to complement other frameworks such as MITRE. All right, let's proceed with the room. Go ahead and click that. Task number 2, what is a kill chain? And let's see what they have here. Originating from the military, a kill chain is a term used to explain the various stages of an attack. In the realm of cybersecurity, a kill chain is used to describe the methodology/path attackers, such as hackers or APTs, which is advanced persistent threats, used to approach and intrude a target. For example, an attacker scanning, exploiting a web vulnerability, and escalating privileges will be a kill chain. We will come to explain these stages in much further detail later in this room. The objective is to understand an attacker's kill chain so that defensive measures can be put in place to either preemptively protect a system and disrupt an attacker's attempt. Okay, question time. Where does the term kill chain originate from? Well, we saw up here, it says the military, so that's probably going to be the answer. So let's go ahead and type that in. If I can spell, there we go. Task number 3, what is threat modeling? So let's go ahead and talk about this. Threat modeling is a cybersecurity context and a series of steps to ultimately improve the security of a system. Threat modeling is about identifying risk and essentially boils down to number 1, identifying what systems and applications need to be secured, what function they serve in the environment. For example, is the system critical to normal operations, and is a system holding sensitive information like payment info or addresses. See, this is very important here, right? This goes down to software and hardware inventory, right? Asset management, proper asset management, folks, which a lot of companies do not do correctly, unfortunately. Number 2, assessing what vulnerabilities and weaknesses these systems and applications may have and how they could be potentially exploited. Number 3, creating a plan of action to secure these systems and applications from the vulnerabilities highlighted. Number 4, putting in policies to prevent these vulnerabilities from occurring again where possible. For example, implementing a software development life cycle SDLC for an application or training employees on phishing awareness. Threat modeling is an important procedure in reducing the risk within a system or application, as it creates a high-level overview of an organization's IT assets. An asset in IT is a piece of software or hardware, and the procedures to resolve vulnerabilities. The UKC can encourage threat modeling, as the UKC framework helps identify potential attack surfaces and how these systems may be exploited. Stride, Dread, and CVSS, to name a few, are all frameworks specifically used in threat modeling. If you are interested to learn more, check out the Principles of Security room on TryHackMe. So check that out if you're interested. What is the term or technical term for a piece of software or hardware in IT, information technology? Well, we saw above that was asset, right? So let's go ahead and type that in. And we're going to continue on with task number 4 here, introducing the unified kill chain. And let's see what they have here. To continue from the previous task, Paul Pohl's Unified Kill Chain, published in 2017, aims to complement, not compete with, other cybersecurity kill chain frameworks such as Lockheed Martin's and MITRE's attack. The UKC states that there are 18 phases to an attack, everything from reconnaissance to data exfiltration and understanding an attacker's motive. These phases have been grouped together in this room into a few areas of focus for brevity, which will be detailed in the remaining tasks. Some large benefits of UKC over traditional cybersecurity kill chain frameworks include the fact that it is modern and extremely detailed. Reminder, it has 18 phases officially, whereas other frameworks may have a small handful. And you can see that here. You got recon, weaponization, delivery, social engineering, exploitation, persistence, defense, evasion, command and control, pivoting, and you can see the rest there. All right, so be sure to pause the video and read through these, or go ahead and check out the room, read through all this information, make sure you understand what's going on here. And they have another table here. It says benefits of the unified kill chain UKC framework and how do other frameworks compare. All right, so let's just go ahead and take a look at a couple of these. Modern, released 2017, updated 2022. Some frameworks such as MITRE were released in 2013 when the cybersecurity landscape was very different. UKC is extremely detailed, 18 phases. Other frameworks often have a small handful of phases, and you can see the rest there. So pause the video, read through this, make sure you understand what's going on here, folks. Answer and question time here. In what year was the unified kill chain framework released? We saw up here, that's going to be 2017, right? So 2017 says, according to the unified kill chain, how many phases are there to an attack, right? So if we scroll back up here, it says, looks like there's going to be 18 here. And let's see if that's what they're looking for. All right. What is the name of the attack phase where an attacker employs techniques to evade detection? And if we go back up here and check out what they have here, it looks like this is going to be defense evasion, right? So let's go and type this in. Defense evasion. Okay. What is the name of the attack phase where an attacker employs techniques to remove data from a network? Well, that sounds like exfiltration, but let's go ahead and double check here. Exfiltration. Techniques that result or aid in an attacker removing data from a target network. So let's go ahead and type that in and see if that's what they're looking for. If I could spell. Okay. What is the name of the attack phase where an attacker achieves their objectives? Okay. So go back up here and let's see here. It says objectives, socio-technical objectives of an attack that are intended to achieve a strategic goal. So it's probably what they're looking for here. All right, or it's going to be impact maybe. So let's go ahead and try objectives. Yep. All right, awesome. Task number 5, phase in, which is initial foothold. And let's take a look at what they have here. The main focus of the series of phases is for an attacker to gain access to a system or networked environment. An attacker will employ numerous tactics to investigate the system for potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited to gain a foothold in the system. For example, a common tactic is the use of reconnaissance against a system to discover potential attack vectors, such as applications and services. So let's take a look at this infographic. You got a reconnaissance, you got weaponization, delivery, social engineering, exploitation, persistence, defense, evasion, command and control, and pivoting. This series of phases also accommodates for an attacker creating a form of persistence, such as files or a process that allows the attacker to connect to the machine at any given time. Finally, the UKC accounts for the fact that attackers will often use a combination of the tactics listed above. We will explore the different phases of this section of UKC in the headings below. You got reconnaissance, also known as recon, MITRE tactic TA0043. This phase of the UKC describes techniques that an adversary employs to gather information related to their target. This can be achieved through means of passive and active reconnaissance. The information gathered during this phase is used all throughout the later stages of UKC, such as the initial foothold. Information gathered from this phase can include discovering what systems and services are running on the target. This is beneficial information in the weaponization and exploitation phases of this section. Finding contact lists or lists of employees that can be impersonated or used in either a social engineering or phishing attack. Looking for potential credentials that may be of use in later stages, such as pivoting or initial access. Understanding the network topology and other network systems can be used to pivot to weaponization, MITRE tactic TA0001. This phase of UKC describes the adversary setting up the necessary infrastructure to perform the attack. For example, this could be setting up a command and control server or a system capable of caching reverse shells and delivering payloads to the system. Social engineering, MITRE tactic TA0001. This phase of the UKC describes techniques that an adversary can deploy to manipulate employees to perform actions that will aid in the adversary's attack. For example, a social engineering attack could include getting a user to open a malicious attachment, impersonating a web page and having the user enter their credentials, calling or visiting the target, and impersonating a user. For example, requesting a password reset, or being able to gain access to areas of a site that the attacker would not previously be capable of, for example, impersonating a utility engineer. Exploitation, MITRE Tactic TA0002. This phase of the UKC describes how an attacker takes advantage of weaknesses or vulnerabilities present in a system. The UKC defines exploitation as abuse of vulnerabilities to perform code execution. For example, uploading and executing a reverse shell to a web application, interfering with an automated script on the system to exclude or execute code, abusing a web application vulnerability to execute code on the system it is running on. Persistence, MITRE Tactic TA003. This phase of the UKC is rather short and simple. Specifically, this phase of the UKC describes the techniques an adversary uses to maintain access to a system they have gained an initial foothold on. For example, creating a service on the target system that will allow the attacker to regain access, adding the target system to a command and control server where commands can be executed remotely at any time, leaving other forms of backdoors that execute when a certain actor or certain action occurs in the system. Examples would be a reverse shell will execute when a system administrator logs in. Defense evasion, MITRE Tactic TA0005. The defense evasion section of the UKC is one of the more valuable phases of the UKC. This phase specifically is used to understand the techniques and the adversary uses to evade defensive measures put in place in the system or network. For example, this could be web application firewalls, network firewalls, antivirus system on the target machine, intrusion detection systems. This phase is valuable when analyzing an attack as it helps form a response and, better yet, gives the defensive team information on how they can improve their defenses or improve their defense systems in the future. Command and Control MITRE Tactic TA0011. The command and control phase of the UKC combines the efforts an adversary made during the weaponization stage of the UKC to establish communications between the adversary and target system. An adversary can establish command and control of a target to achieve its actions on objectives. For example, the adversary can execute commands, steal data, credentials, and other information. Use the controlled server to pivot to other systems on the network. Pivoting, MITRE Tactic TA0008. Pivoting is the technique an adversary uses to reach other systems within a network that are not otherwise accessible. For example, they are not exposed to the internet. There are often many systems in a network that are not directly reachable and often contain valuable data or have weaker security. For example, an adversary can gain access to a web server that is publicly accessible to attack other systems that are within the same network, but are not accessible via the internet. And answering question time. What is an example of a tactic to gain a foothold using emails? And that should be phishing. See if that's what they're looking for. All right. Impersonating an employee to request a password reset is a form of social engineering. Okay. An adversary setting up the command control server infrastructure is what phase of the unified kill chain? Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, be sure to hit that notification bell. All right, so you know every time I post a new video. As you can see here, most people that view my videos, view my channel, are not subscribed. Now, if you do subscribe, it will help me get into the YouTube algorithm so that we can continue to grow our glorious community here. As always, thank you all for taking the time to watch. Have a nice day and enjoy the video. Weaponization is what we're looking for here. So if we scroll up and take a look at that, it says command and control here. The command and control phase of the UKC combines the efforts an adversary made during the weaponization stage of the UKC to establish communication between adversary and target system. All right. And let's see. Exploiting a vulnerability present on a system is what phase of the unified kill chain? So exploiting vulnerability would be, let's go ahead and check up. Exploitation is what it sounds like here. Abuse of vulnerabilities. Yep. So let's go ahead and try that and see what they are looking for here. Okay, it says moving from one system to another, example of pivoting. And it says leaving behind a malicious service that allows the adversary to go back into the target is persistence, right? So we can see that up here. Short, simple, yada, yada, yada. Adversary uses to maintain access to a system they have gained an initial foothold on. So that's what we're going to go with. Copy and paste. Awesome. So let's go ahead and continue to task number 6, phase through network propagation. And let's see what they have here. This phase follows a successful foothold being established on the target network. An attacker would seek to gain additional access and privileges to systems and data to fulfill their goals. The attacker would set up a base on one of the systems to act as their pivot point and use it to gather information about the internal network through pivoting, discovery, privilege escalation. You can see the rest there. Pivoting tactic TA0008. Once the attacker has access to the system, they would use it as their staging site in a tunnel between their command operations and the victim's network. The system would also be used as the distribution point for all malware and backdoors at later stages. Discovering Discovery, tactic TA0007. The adversary would uncover information about the system and the target or in the network it is connected to. Within the stage, the knowledge base would be built from the active user accounts, the permissions granted, applications, and software in use, web browser activity, files, directories, and network shares, and system configurations, privilege escalation, tactic TA0004. Following their knowledge gathering, the adversary would try to gain more prominent permissions within the pivot system. They would leverage the information on the accounts present with vulnerabilities and misconfigurations found to elevate their access to one of the following superior levels. You got system root, local administrator account, a user account with admin-like access, a user account with specific access or functions, a execution. Tactic TA0002. This is where they deploy their malicious code using the pivot system as their host. Remote Trojans, C2 scripts, malicious links, and scheduled tasks are deployed and created to facilitate a recurring presence on the system and uphold their persistence. Credential access tactic TA0006, working hand in hand with privilege escalation stage, the adversaries would attempt to steal account names and passwords through various methods, including key logging and credential dumping. This makes them harder to detect using their attack as they would be using legitimate credentials. You got lateral movement here. Tactic TA0008. With the credentials and elevated privileges, the adversary would seek to move through the network and jump onto the other targeted systems to achieve their primary objective. The stealthier the technique used, the better. All right, answering question time. As a SOC analyst, you pick up numerous alerts pointing to failed login attempts from an administrator account. What stage of the kill chain would an attacker be seeking to achieve? That sounds like privilege escalation, so we're going to go with that and see if that's what they're looking for here. Mimikatz, a known attack tool, was detected running on the IT manager's computer. What is the mission of the tool? Well, that's going to be credential dumping. Task 7, phase out. Action on objectives. This phase wraps up the journey of an adversary's attack on environment where they have critical asset access and can fulfill their attack goals. These goals are usually geared toward compromising the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which is known as the CIA triad. The tactics to be deployed by an attacker would include collection, which is tactic TA0009. After all the hunting for access and assets, the adversary will be seeking to gather all the valuable data of interest. This in turn compromises the confidentiality of the data and will lead to the next stage or the next attack stage, exfiltration. The main target sources include drivers, browsers, audio, video, and email. Exfiltration tactic TA0010. To elevate their compromise, the adversary would seek to steal data which could be packaged using encryption measures and compression to avoid any detection. The C2 channel and tunnel deployed in the earlier phases will come in handy during this process. Impact tactic TA0040. If the adversary seeks to compromise the integrity and availability of the data assets, they would manipulate, interrupt, or destroy these assets. The goal would be to disrupt business and operational processes and may involve removing account access, disk wipes, and data encryption, such as ransomware, defacement and denial of service, DOS attacks. Objectives: with all the power and access to the systems and network, the adversary would seek to achieve their strategic goal for the attack. For example, if the attack was financially motivated, they may seek to encrypt files and systems with ransomware and ask for payment to release the data. In other instances, the attacker may seek to damage the reputation of the business and they would release private and confidential information to the public. All right, answering question time. While monitoring the network as a SOC analyst, you realize that there's a spike in network activity and all the traffic is outbound to an unknown IP address. What stage could describe this uh, activity? Okay, so this could be possibly exfiltration. That's what it sounds like to me. So I'm going to plug that in there. And personally identifiable information, PII, has been released to the public by an adversary and their organization is facing scrutiny for the breach. What part of the CIA triad would be affected by this action? That's going to be confidentiality, as we saw up here. Let's go ahead and plug that in there. Confidentiality. Just going to copy and paste. And task number 8, practical. All right, we're gonna have to view site here and do some things. So it looks like deploy the static site. Attached to the task, you will need to match the various actions of an attacker to the correct phase of the unified kill chain framework to reveal the flag. Match the scenario prompt to the correct phase of the unified kill chain to reveal the flag at the end. What is the flag? So let's go ahead and try this. The attacker uses tools to gather information about a system. What phase of the unified kill chain is this? That sounds like recon. The attacker installs a malicious script to allow them remote access at a later date, and that sounds like persistence. The hacker machine or the hacked machine is being controlled from an attacker's own server. What phase is this? That is command and control. The attacker uses the hacked machine to access other servers on the same network. That sounds like pivoting. And the attacker steals a database and sells this to a third party. That is going to be, let's see here. That sounds like actions and objectives. So there you go. Awesome. So that solves that one. Then task number 9, we're going to close out here with the conclusion. It says, congrats on making it through the unified kill chain room. Hopefully you understand the importance that frameworks such as the UKC play in identifying risk and potential mitigating attacks and reconstructing the various steps an attacker took. As mentioned in this room, the UKC is a modern extension of other frameworks such as the Lockheed Martin's Cyber Kill Chain framework. If you are interested in learning more about frameworks in cybersecurity, highly recommend it. You should check out these rooms on TryHackMe. You got principles of security, pen testing fundamentals, and cyber kill chain. Complete this task to finish this room, and that wraps this up. Awesome. Thank you all for following along. Hopefully you found this video of value and you actually paid attention, took notes if you want to. All right. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Share the video, comment below your thoughts and opinions on the video. As always, thank you all for watching. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.